I mean, I'm pretty open with you, like compared to a usual friend, you know.
Hmm.
What's it called? But even then, I don't want to tell you that like I sing in the car. That's a bit like, eh.
Well, I mean, yeah. I don't know about you, but I do that all the time. I don't think anyone could come to me with a straight face and say I don't sing in the car at all, anytime whatsoever.
I could see some people,
Like,
like those people who only listen like to the news and stuff, you know.
oh yeah, shoot.
You sing along to the nightly news. And this night at 11, we've got 3 new murders.
Today at 12 with Tanika Hughes.
This better be the start of the podcast.
You're listening to the Tangent Podcast, Episode 3, Mask. Done.
Welcome to Tangent Podcast. I hope you enjoyed our quite lovely voices, I would say, because I actually have a good microphone for once. It's not like I'm talking through a phone.
Yay!
So, whoa, progress. We're going to get somewhere by like episode 30, I bet. We'll probably have more than like 5 viewers.
I know, right? You know, I was checking the stats, and apparently we have like 10 downloads for our second episode, and it's only on Google Play.
Interesting.
You know, here's the thing, though. I have a pain, Jeffrey. I have a severe, agonizing pain, and it starts with Apple. Now,
Apple sucks.
Yeah. You see, Jeffrey, we both agree that Apple sucks, not only because everything they have in some way, I believe, is overpriced, but also because I feel like I am blacklisted by Apple right now.
What do you mean?
Well, you see, I tried uploading our podcast to iTunes, and the thing is, most of the way people find people on podcasts is through an iTunes client of some way. Whether it's like Pocket Casts or whatever little mini podcast app it is, you know. And the thing is, when I tried applying for for the podcast to go on to iTunes, and I created a new account, it just logs me back onto the login page, and it doesn't let me progress to add a new podcast. However, I used my old iTunes account, my old Apple ID for the one I had for my old iPhone, which I don't use anymore because I sold it. Actually, I didn't sell it. I gave it away because someone wanted a new phone. The only thing I had was like a BlackBerry from 2007. So I gave it to her. I was so kind. And this was like sophomore year. Yeah. But anyway, I gave it to her. I had a new phone, so I gave that. I deleted all my data, and she had the phone. And with the old Apple ID, I was able to create a new feed. So it seems that Apple doesn't want me to do anything unless I have an Apple product.
Probably. I mean, Apple, I believe there was some like court case about how their chargers would only charge Apple products, but they had to change it. I believe that was Apple. They're trying to create like a bubble where Apple only deals with Apple. So if you wouldn't have an Apple product, of course, they'd be like, you're not allowed here.
And you know what's the worst part? Like 2 hours before we started recording today, I went to Apple support to talk about Apple ID, and I wasted 30 minutes with the most inane, boring, and utterly shameful customer service because the guy just basically held me on the line for so long, and I had to describe to him the situation I was in like 50 times. And in the end, he just said, you know what, I don't think I can do this. I will go to the support page to figure out what to do next. And honestly, I wanted to yell at his face and say, dude, I came to you because the support page couldn't do crap.
Yeah, support is usually pretty terrible, but I actually had a good experience with them. Actually, I think it was last week. I was trying to get my brother's Ubisoft account up because I bought him a game.
Okay.
And what's it called? Apparently, he was put on some old account that he made like 4 years ago. and we had no idea what email was put onto and stuff, and we got the support to actually change it. So,
Right.
but some support is good. But as you were saying, yeah, Apple, I generally don't like them. I've never had a iPhone. I've always had a Android. But looking at it, it just doesn't seem, I don't know, good per se. It's so closed in. You can't change anything about an Apple. You can't. It just there's no freedom there. With an Android, there's so many choices and stuff like that. With Apple, it's just one choice. Like I have a LG phone right now because I enjoy it, and also because I mean all the features and stuff. I compared it against other Android brands. Well, Apple just has their one flagship, and I prefer the more diverse route because I get to choose what's good.
Oh, definitely. Look, I'll tell you this. Let me tell you the story of why I even had an Apple in the first place. So I got my iPhone 4S. Yeah, it was the 4S. It was one of the best phones at the time during like 2010. And this is the time when the Apple 5 came out. So the new Lightning charger was out there. But I didn't want to get it because it was expensive. And I thought, I'll be fine with my 4S. They're not going to have to cancel out my phone with a new update. So I thought I'll be fine. And the thing I hated about it was, like, if I can summarize those three things. One, like you said, customization. I couldn't do anything. I was stuck with the Apple thing. The one thing I hate about Apple the most is icons, because I don't get
Yeah.
the choice to, like, put my icons wherever I want. I have to have them line up and flow onto the other page when I have beautiful wallpapers that these nasty, all these little matte icons are getting in the way of my beautiful photo. Like, you don't go and spend like 10 minutes on Google looking for a good background just to have a stupid icon get in the way of the most important part.
Yeah, like personally on my phone, I just put them all into folders and just put them in the like corners to where I can see my background. But ironically enough, my background is just like black color. It's just nothing. But even then, it just looks organized and it makes me happy.
Oh yeah. Plus, you can do like cool little shapes. You know what? My recent setup, even though it's not really organized to the way I usually do, um, I have all my icons are basically like flip folders, and I made it like
Mm.
a staircase. So, in order of how important it is to me, the highest stuff on like the ladders are the least important. The ones that are the lowest to the floor are the stuff I use every day. So the level of how high I need to move my swipe is organized, and it's also because I'm right-handed. All the lower stuff is usually at the bottom, so it's just like a quick little swap, little
Mm.
swipe and press. Good.
Hmm.
I love that. Plus, the best thing about it
Yeah.
when I was like really into Android, I did a lot of ROMs like Pokemon. Oh my
Hmm.
god, I love Pokemon ROMs during sophomore year. I was just that. I did Metroid ROMs were available, and I had like a Mother 3 ROM. That was so cool.
Isn't that Earthbound or is
Yep.
that two?
Earthbound and Mother 3. There was one I did the one with Lucas, and I had the one with Ness. I liked the one with Ness much more. The story was
Mm.
interesting, but I never finished it. And I'm probably gonna get some hate in the comments or from not the comments because I didn't put out a
Comment.
comment. I got rid of the comment system before they even have a chance.
Wait, we don't have comments on YouTube?
No, we do,
Oh, okay, let's say,
but
hey, go
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 on
comment
YouTube.
all your hate on YouTube.
Yeah, I
Um,
will definitely look through it. Actually, I will. I'll go through
I
all the.
probably
I like YouTube as a platform, but I don't like
well,
the. Okay, I don't like the YouTube as a platform. You know what? All I'm trying to say is that Android is better than iPhone in terms of my needs, and
yeah.
because of that, I am I'm really angry at the fact I can't put the show on iTunes, and I'm kind of wondering maybe if I'm going to have to give up on it, or I'm going to have to like ask someone else who knows how to do this better than I do, because it seems like it's just blacklisting my IP.
I'm sure there's some loophole.
I hope.
Worst comes to worst, we can just go to a Apple store and log on to one of the computers there.
Yes, yes. We'll force the Apple geniuses like, hey, Your company is actively discriminating against my minority, and I'm gonna speak to a manager until
Yeah, I'm gonna sue.
I will sue
That'll
Apple.
get them scared.
I think it'll just get them scared enough. It's like, look, we really don't want to deal with this right now. Let's just figure this out later. Uh, uh,
Yeah, just like let him use the computer for like 10 minutes
yeah,
as he uploads this thing or whatever.
it's like just let me do it. I'll bring a USB with all our
Yeah, yeah.
files. This is so. Oh, one of the things I
It'd
gotta
be funny.
say, I kind of. What do you think about this little show that we're doing, Jeffrey? We're like, this is our third episode. How do you feel about it?
I mean, I don't really care if people watch it or not. It's just a place for me to sort of just talk and get things off my chest and just talk about what's going on, things I like, things I dislike. It's good to talk, and that's why I originally wanted to do this, is because we would have these conversations anyways. So why not put them out there for others to enjoy, hate, whatever, it's out there, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say I don't have a dream of this thing getting huge and us becoming like millionaires off it or something like that. Well, that's a pipe dream, but
But if you want to support that dream, you can go on Patreon right now.
yeah, give us your money. That's the first thing I said on the first episode.
Give us your money. But we love you.
Yeah, definitely.
Be a benefactor and join us on Patreon.
Mhm.
By the way,
Um,
you want to talk about our special event, a crown jewel of our recent lives?
you make it sound so weird.
Well, I guess. I want to make it more interesting than what everyone else says. But why don't you say it?
Well, I guess because it's a crown jewel of our lives, even though it didn't really feel like it to me.
It doesn't. It
Um,
felt. Actually, let's talk about it without saying what we did.
that's gonna be kind of hard. How do you describe that without saying what it is?
Okay, so
Um,
let's describe how we felt going into it. All right? You'll start.
um, I don't know. I was kind of apathetic, honestly. I didn't think I would feel like that. I mean, you're supposed to be excited and all that, but I was just sort of like, I want to go home and sleep.
Oh my goodness. I felt that so much. You know, the thing I really didn't like was getting up at 7 a.m. to do the whole practice
Oh,
run.
yeah.
And it made no sense because,
It was so stupid.
yeah, because if we're going to do this, this is stuff that anyone could have just, told you basically had you have just, followed along. And most of the stuff that we were doing wasn't really stuff that we needed to rehearse. We just went ahead and did it.
Yeah, definitely. Like, just there was no need for all that practice. I mean, there's some dumb. Oh God, they're dumb people. But even someone with an IQ of like, what's a low IQ like?
86?
Oh God,
that's
okay.
like
50
severely.
would have been like an okay. I'm just
86
gonna
is
stop.
really bad. 100 is like really average, not really that meh.
Yeah, so someone around those levels could have gotten what they taught us at 7 a.m. within like 2 minutes of instruction,
Basically. And the worst
and
thing
it just
about
made
it,
everyone antsy.
yeah, but I'll tell you this though. One thing is that it gave me some time to say hi to most of you because I wasn't going to get
Yeah.
a chance to. And one thing about the whole event is that when we were basically going on the stage, I felt that more or less that the adults who were organizing the event basically didn't really have as much passion, or at least not so much passion, but not as much attention as they could have. Because,
Yeah.
or if so, the way that they displayed it was antsy and really unprepared, considering that they have, like, what, 40 years to prepare this?
40 years.
40 years, like, they have practiced this so many times, and how is it different now, you know?
It's probably not. I mean, I don't see anything modern about it. I mean, the part everyone enjoyed about the show was when some of us were on stage talking,
Exactly.
not the people running it. I mean, the guy, the very tip top who showed up, the like big boss, he was so unenthused, and he looked like he was just like working at a convenience store, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Like this was annoying to him.
You know,
So,
I gotta say this. You know, what's the one thing about the whole event that I really just didn't appreciate at all was the fact that we couldn't have our phones with us
hmm
because it made looking for my parents astronomically way
oh
more
yeah,
difficult
I
than it could
just
have been.
because everyone swarmed around that exit door, and it was like wading just through a sea of people, and everyone was always just running around like
Yes,
screaming names.
it
And
was.
then when I saw my brother who was just running through the crowd, I'm like, "Hey, where's everyone else?" And he's like, "I don't know. I was just running to find you." Yeah, but even like when I was on the stage myself,
Hmm.
it I don't know. I didn't feel anything. I was a bit nervous, of course, because I don't like being in front of that many people.
You don't want to fall down like that one person.
I actually said that when I was going down the stairs to the guy at the bottom. I'm like, "Oh, happy I didn't trip." He's like, "Yeah, I was worried I was gonna have to catch you." So
No, the
I don't
poor
know if that
person.
was a jab at me or not, but
Oh no, that seems
it
like
definitely lightened my mood a bit.
Oh yeah, I
Uh,
would too. Oh no,
what's it
that
called?
I'll tell you what though. I'm gonna just say it now. Graduating, what felt the most underwhelming event
Yeah.
there, and it was a little bit different because okay, I not to humble brag, not to humble brag at all, but when I was in when I was at the college graduation, okay, the one thing about it that I appreciated was the fact I could have my phone, I could take pictures of my fellow classmates, and I could basically call my parents or my loved ones like, "Hey, I'm over here by this by the church. Can you head over here and I can see you guys?" And
Mhm.
it felt more organized, more or less, because I don't know about you, but when I went to the one, I felt like the adults and the programmers like had less knowledge what was going to happen than we did.
Yeah, honestly, it seems like they set it up last minute. And I mean, our school isn't the most wealthy one.
But it's good.
Um,
It's decent. It's not like a, but it's definitely better than like going to a or
you're saying all these names.
going better to. Yeah, I'll cut it out. But it's better than going to like the other schools in our area, and at the same time, it
There
feels
are.
like
What do you think of the main competitor school to ours? You know the one I'm talking about.
oh yeah, that one. Honestly, despite all like the little rivalry that I heard throughout my 4 years, I really didn't care much about them. I didn't even hear mostly about it outside the contents of sports. And even then, they
Mm,
weren't really like the team that when I was in the band was really important to me. It was mostly the other
the
schools,
band?
particularly the richer ones, like the ones from the beaches or stuff like that.
Yeah, those. I don't know. I just have a real problem with people who are snobby and like elitist and who think they're better than you. It
Yeah,
really just pisses me off.
they were the
Um,
ones. I think the people on the beaches were the ones that I really worried about the most. Not because that they were, like bad people, but because they were the ones more likely to come in with a rich car or come in with get drunk or act stupid.
yeah,
It was either like the
yeah,
really rich schools or the really poor schools that had that problem. But the ones that are more or less in the middle were like okay.
yeah. I mean, my brother personally is thinking of going to our main rival school. Um, and I mean, it saddens me a bit because, I'm connected to the school that we went to, and I like, I'll be like, oh, you're his brother and blah blah blah. If he went there, but I mean, if it's what he wants to do, I have friends who went there because I went to the middle school that actually goes to that high school because I'm in a weird zoning area, and they've told me it's pretty good. It's a lot like ours, but just not as many, drug problems. At least our drug problems.
I don't know. I think I'll tell you what. When I heard about the nickname about our school, I thought like it was kind of lame. I don't know, but when I heard the little rhyme, I was like, okay. whatever. Because I don't know, drug problems in school when I was at our high school, it wasn't really something you saw often. I mean, sure, it was mentioned, but it's nothing that unless you went to the groups that actively, used drugs or were selling it, there were basically, not a lot of signs of it when I was there.
You want to hear a story?
Sure, shoot.
So I think what year were we in when Trump got inaugurated? Was that junior year
Yeah,
or
junior
sophomore?
junior year but it
Okay.
was not. It was junior year, but it was like spring semester.
Yeah, yeah. Because I found this spot to sit that was fairly quiet because this is before I could leave after like during lunch with my car. So I was still, just trying to find a nice place to sit down, just like listen to music while I ate
Mm-hmm.
my lunch.
Right.
And unfortunately, my best spot, which was in one of the alcoves on the side of the school, in one of the areas where no one went, was now being frequented by these girls
Mm-hmm.
who I didn't know. So I had to move. And by the more narrow parking lot on the left side, there was these old bathrooms that nobody used because they were like abandoned.
Right.
I sat in the entryway to those where you would choose to go to the boy or girl bathrooms. It was under this little tiny like awning and stuff like that, and it wasn't like I was in the bathroom. I was just right outside of it,
Uh-huh.
and it was fairly quiet. I mean, people walked by and stuff, but they didn't mess with me until one day. These like two girls, and they looked fairly normal. They didn't look like they were up to anything. They walked over to me, went in this little alcove which covers the entrance to the bathroom, so you can't see it if someone pulls open the door. It like inside the bathroom.
Okay. Yeah.
They go inside of it. They look at me and they ask like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm just saying, "I'm on lunch right now. This is just where I sit." And they go, "Okay." And then they pull out this like Gatorade bottle, but it's empty. Um, and then the girl next to her pulls something out of her purse, and I'm not looking at them because I'm like looking out the side of my eye because I don't want to like stare.
Yeah.
And I've got my headphones in, so I can't really hear them too much. And she puts it in. The other girl pulls out a lighter, and they start smoking weed out of the Gatorade bottle and just doing it next to me. And they turn to me and go, "Hey, do you want some?" And I go, "No, not really." And they go, "All right." And they just keep going for like a few minutes or whatever until they're done. And I'm just like, "Is this happening right now? Why would you just walk up to me and do this?"
I
And
mean,
then they get out, and I noticed that because we have those like resource officers or whatever on campus,
right, right.
and he was in his cop car, because that area is this big like concrete courtyard where people just kind of walk through because there's nowhere to gather, and he's parked in it, like looking over here. So the girls go out, they throw the bottle down in the corner, and they walk back into the school, and the resource officer just stares at him, and I walk over to the resource officer. I'm like, "Hey man, did you see what they're doing?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did." I'm like, "Are you gonna do anything about it?" He said, it's too much trouble and paperwork. I'd rather just let them do it." And I go, "Oh." And then I thought to myself, I wonder why our school has a drug problem because I didn't have the balls to say it back then. So,
No, yeah,
yeah,
I obviously wouldn't say that's the
that was
officer
quite
right there.
something.
Yeah, that's a good story. You know, I have
Yeah,
a recent
yeah.
story I want to talk about, and it's kind of related. You know, one of the things now, Jeff, you know that for a long time I was, what Sandalwood, what the school would call a courtyard kid. All right, everyone from the school would know
Yes,
what a
yes.
courtyard kid
Well, we
means.
kind of have to explain what that is.
Okay, so I
I'll
want to give a
explain it because
definition.
you're about to tell your story.
Yeah, yeah, you go ahead. You explain it.
And I actually have a mini story related to this.
Okay.
So, to start off, it was freshman year. And I wasn't very popular freshman year. Side fact, I was beat up on my first day of high school, but I'll save that for another time.
Dang.
Yeah, it was not fun. But I was in my math class, I think, and this guy who was a real asshole. Um, he's sat across from me because we were at a four-person table, and he goes, "Hey, so were you eating lunch, freshman?" Because I was in a class of sophomores because I was taking like advanced classes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, "Oh, I'm just kind of like hanging around in the lunchroom, sitting with the few people I know because most of my friends had gone to the other high school, and I knew almost no one." And he goes, "Oh, well, if you got no one to sit with, you should come sit in the courtyard." And I go, "Oh, I hadn't thought about that yet. I didn't think students were supposed to go out there." And he goes, "No, no, no. It's where most people like try to hang out. The like upperclassmen and stuff." And I go, "Oh, but I'm not an upperclassman." And he goes, "Well, just go in there. It'll be fine." And I go, "Okay, I'll try it out today." And instead of sitting with some of the people that I barely knew from middle school, I take my food and I head into the courtyard and I sit down at one of the tables. And I look around and I don't see the guy, but I see some other people hanging around, and they don't look like upperclassmen. So I walk over and go, "Hey," and they go, "Hey," or something like that. And I go, "So this is where the upperclassmen hang out?" And they go, "What are you talking about?" And I go, "But this guy told me." And they ask if I was a freshman, of course. And I said, "Yeah." And they said I'd been tricked by this guy, and that the courtyard was basically for the like outcasts and for those who were rejected by everywhere else. And
Well,
I think, oh crap. So I immediately leave the courtyard and go sit with my like middle school acquaintances. But the guy saw me apparently because the next time I was in math class, he just laughs at me and he calls me a courtyard kid for the rest of the year. And he spreads that around my math class. And yeah, that made it not fun to be in there. Basically, what that story is trying to show is that the courtyard was for places for people who had literally nowhere else to go, and it was known as places where weebs would hang out, weirdos. There were rumors about like kids with like mental handicaps, like chasing turtles and stuff in there, and
oh,
yeah,
I
I
can.
remember that rumor.
Now I'm going to tell you since you were only there for one day, right?
Not even the full lunch period, but yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you all the myths since I was there dedicated for like a good year and a half.
Jeez, wow.
Okay, so the courtyard for me, I didn't know anything about the stigma until like a couple weeks into like when I was in. Remember when I came to Sandalwood, when I came to the school, I came as a total freshman, but I was in the band. And when I was in the band, they told me eventually around like the second or third week that, hey, you shouldn't be there. That's where all the weirdos hang out, or all the anime weebs hang out. And during this time, I considered myself an anime fan. And I would say, looking back on it, I was a
Well,
bit of a weeb because I was getting
I
to the.
mean, you still kind of are. But
Maybe not. I'll tell you this: I watch less anime than I do before, but I have a greater appreciation for it than I did back then. Um,
mm,
but anyway, so back in that time, I was watching anime. I played anime songs on my trumpet and also on the euphonium. There were some good shows about euphoniums
euphonium.
back then. It's like a mini tuba, and there was even a show called Hibike Euphonium that was really popular and I really liked. So I was out in the courtyard, and one of the things that happened when I was there was that they had turtles in the pond for the first year when I was there. And it was pretty cool because basically you can just go there, see the turtles in their little habitat, and some of us would feed it like salad, grass, all the kind of stuff. We wouldn't feed it like Cheetos or meat or anything because they wouldn't eat it. So eventually we just started taking care of it. But at the same time, because this is where the place where the outcasts were, there was a small section dedicated to like the autistic kids. But some of the autistic
Mhm.
kids who are like mildly sociable, the ones that you can just tolerate, also hanged around with the anime and gaming kids. So we kind of like took
Mm.
them in a sense of like, well, he's good enough to talk to, and we want him to feel comfortable. So some of them we let in. The rest of them were either so weird that we never talked to them, or they just never bothered with the courtyard because they were out doing their own thing outside.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things about the courtyard I really enjoyed was the fact that because everyone there more or less accepted their like associated social role, everyone was more or less candid and happy to talk with one another. And even though I was like deemed a courtyard kid, I really when people came up to me, it's like, "Hey, you're a courtyard kid, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah," and it's pretty cool. And I have a better time in the courtyard than I do hanging out with people inside because they're more shallow or they're not really willing to talk to you. And most
Mm-hmm.
of the time, that basically gives them like no ammo for them to shoot at me because like if I just dispelled your whole little myth about the lunchroom being better, then there's nothing you really can say that is going to make me not be a courtyard kid. So eventually, I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like walked away from the people who would call me a courtyard kid, and I've just never saw them throughout the most of my year. I don't know. I didn't really care about status because during that point in freshman year, I basically was at a time where I was happy to be out of middle school, and just being with
Mm-hmm.
anyone that was more or less nice to me was enough for me to want to hang out with them, and to the point where I can't.
Yeah, speaking of that, I remember how we met freshman year.
Yeah,
You were quite sociable, because I wasn't at all back then. I mean, I still aren't good English, Jeffrey. I still like am not very sociable to people I don't know. I mean, you're seeing my most sociable side right now on the podcast. Um, but what first day or like the second day? I don't remember. But you sat in front of me in our like gym slash health class,
yeah, hope.
and I think you just turned around and said like hi or whatever.
Yeah,
And our personalities were fairly similar, so we started talking. And then there was a few of our other friends around. I don't want to name them because I don't know if they'd want to be named.
I'm gonna. Call, there was
But you know who I'm talking
Osira. I'm gonna call one of them Osira because that's his gamer tag on.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
It's okay, but I'll tell you what. His middle name is Luis.
Ah, him. Yeah,
Yeah,
him.
I'm gonna call him Osira just because that's his gamer tag, and or we can call him Luis since we both know him.
Yeah, let's just call him that.
Yeah, he hates it though.
I remember like all of freshman year I would call him that because I don't know, back then I just enjoyed seeing people get mad. I don't know. I was a weird person. I mean I still fucking am. But
Don't worry,
um
you're at home with 4chan and Reddit and everyone else on the internet.
hey, I don't go to 4chan, okay? I'm not that like autistic. Um Reddit is my home. Um what's it called? But I would call him Luis like all the time, and he would get so mad. But it was funny to me back then.
By the
Um,
way, I have a question to ask you. So now that we're basically out, I wanted to ask because one of the things that how we met and became like good friends is that one time we got into a fight, and to this day,
I
I
don't think
still
I
don't.
remember this.
Yeah, you do. Okay, so in the beginning of Hope class, I was like, remember with Plank when we the joke about Plank?
Ah, I remember that.
I still have him, by the way.
You still have that
I
thing?
I still have him next to my
It's
bed.
still stupid. Oh,
So story goes is that there was this one piece of wood from Woodshop because Woodshop is right
which
next
is
to the
right
Hope.
next to our Hope class. Yeah.
It's perfect, and it was so perfectly straight that I decided to like, this is cool, and I started drawing on it, and I drew a face, and I thought about Ed, and Eddie, and
Mm.
I remember the character Rajesh or Raj, that he had a friend named Plank, or it wasn't Raj, but it was the other kid with the braces. Yeah, it was the kid with the braces. I forget his name.
No, 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 no. The guy with Plank was that like bald kid.
Oh, yeah. So I thought the kid with the braces and the bald kid, he had like these little weird. Oh no, it was Rajesh.
No, 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 no. Raj was the shepherd guy, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And then the kid with the braces was blonde, and he was friend with the girl with orange hair. They
Yeah.
were like siblings, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So we know the same person. But yeah, if you were a 2000s kid, then you would know about Plank. And we had a
2000 kids will get this reference.
shoot. I'm starting to see those on BuzzFeed now. It's scary.
Oh God, BuzzFeed is garbage. But go ahead.
So I created Plank, and everyone started making jokes about it. And we basically kept it in the Hope class because no one would move it, and we wrote our names on it one day, and and one of the things since I left Plank in the building was that I was like making fun of Plank because you were in a really like you were quiet, so I was trying to figure out like, he's kind of quiet. I don't know what's going on with Jeffrey, but he's kind of quiet today. So I started like touching Plank with you, like, "Hey Jeffrey, what's going on? Are you feeling all right?" And you were so like quiet, and I was like, "What's going on with Jeffrey?" I was trying to get your attention, like, "Hey man, are you all right?" And then you snap, and after that you started fighting. And I really, because I didn't know what was going on with you, I was like, I don't want to fight Jeffrey, so I'm just going to, like, block the attacks until he's calmed down. And eventually you were just like...
I was punching you.
You were punching me, yeah. You're.
I was?
Well, you're basically, like, pushing me. You weren't, like, going, like, full fist, but you're basically, like, pushing me, trying to get the energy out.
Yeah, I was going through a lot back then.
And I wanted to know, after all this time, like... I'm not too sure you remember clearly, but I remember after you were like done with it, it's like, "Hey man, I'm sorry. I'm going through a lot right now, and that wasn't the time for you to do that." And I was like, "Hey man, I'm sorry too." And because of that, we became better friends.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta, what's the analogy? You gotta break a few eggs to make an omelet, you know?
Yeah. And I wanted to know, like, I'm not too sure if you're comfortable sharing on the podcast, but I want to know what was going on during that time, if that's okay.
Well, it's kind of hard for me to remember because I usually try to bury my problems and not deal with them because I'm smart like that.
Well, welcome to therapy.
Yeah, but if I remember back freshman year, I mean, I had not transferred. I'd gone to a school where I knew nobody. I mean, I think I had 2 friends come from like with me to that school, and both of them, I mean, they'll probably listen to this podcast, so hi guys, but I didn't really hang out with them. They were both in their own circles, and I don't know, I didn't want to intrude, so I had no one. And back then I didn't have anyone, like I wasn't close with my brother, so I couldn't talk to him. So I was just really alone, and I was really, really depressed. I just kind of felt like nothing mattered and that nobody really cared about me, you know? Link comes up every once in a while. It's recurring. But back, like, that day, it was just hitting me really hard. And usually when I go really quiet and I don't talk to people, it's usually because I'm trying to keep my emotions to myself. Because I don't like seeing people angry or sad or that sort of thing. And I think if I stay quiet, then it won't spread to them. It's like it's a disease or something. So that morning, it was probably that. I just didn't want to make everyone else like that, but you touching me with that plank because I thought it was stupid, and I still do. What's it called? It just sort of snapped me, like you said, and I just kind of let everything out, and I let my, I guess it was anger at that time out on you, and that happens sometimes, and afterwards I always feel like shit, and I blame myself for it. What's it called? And I always apologize and such. So yeah, I can't tell you exactly what it was, but it was probably loneliness, or I mean, I was getting bullied a decent amount back then. I mean, I have the advantage of I'm fairly tall, and I look intimidating.
Yeah, now I want to see them bully you.
Yeah, I'm a lot more intimidating than I was as a freshman.
Oh, fedora hat.
Oh God, don't fucking bring that up. Thankfully, I don't think I wore it freshman year.
No, you didn't. You had the glasses and the buzz cut.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, oh God, I hate that. Oh, I hate pictures of me like that. And I hate pictures of me before I started growing like facial hair.
Dude, look, I'm thinking
like
about
a baby.
Look at me. Like when I look at my pictures back in the day, I'm like, I look totally different. I feel like during junior year, I killed my old self and I just became my new face.
Yeah, yeah, like that's kind of how I feel because I think it was a bet between me and my dad like halfway through junior year of like, oh, let's see who can like it was something along the lines of the other person has to give it was like a bet of like $50 of who can go the longest without cutting their hair.
Mm.
And I won in the end because my dad has like a professional job
Well, he set
and my
himself to
hair was
fail.
yeah, yeah. And it had been like 3 months. And what's it called? And I was gonna go to the barber shop one like Saturday or whatever, because I had my car then. But as I got there, I don't remember what it was, but I had to leave. But before I got my haircut done, I think it was something to do with my brother, like because he was home by himself, and my mom called me and like something was happening. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't super serious. Um, but I left and I just decided I didn't want to get a haircut, and I've been growing my hair out for like a year and a half now. I just haven't cut any of the hair on my body.
You're like
Um,
Samson.
Yeah, I mean, my brother tells me on like a bi-daily basis that I look like a homeless person squatting. You know?
I want to
Uh,
see you in like a. You know what, Jeffrey? I might give you like a. I have this old army jacket. Oh
I should
wait,
go as a hobo for
you
Halloween.
should. I feel like I'm not too sure if I still have it. I might have gave it away to the Salvation Army, but I had this old army jacket where if I thought about letting you have it because then if I gave you a beanie, you'd be like a perfect like Iraq war veteran.
It's like spare change for a veteran.
You could just
Just-
make.
That'd be great for Halloween.
No, oh god. I feel like it'll be perfect. Or better yet, you can dress up as a cop. Social commentary.
Ha ha.
uh,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you what, we changed a lot. And I gotta say,
But I'm
graduating,
happy about it, honestly.
yeah, I don't feel bad about it. I'll tell you what, one of the things that I realized in school that was really weird. Have you ever noticed this? But because I was so more or less like I'm not totally extroverted, but I'm definitely not a total introvert. I'm
Hmm.
more or less around like the lower middle of like introversion extroversion. So most
Yeah,
of the
you're
time
definitely more of an extrovert than me.
I'm more of an extrovert than you, but I'm less of an extrovert than most people. And
Hmm.
because of that, for some odd reason, people come up to me for relationship advice.
I've gotten that too, honestly. Like, come to me for advice.
I
It's so odd.
yeah, I oh my god, this is so I can't help but agree because like recently, and this is tying back to the courtyard thing. One of my former friends in the courtyard, all right? I'm not going to name names, I'm not going to name people or places. One of my
I
friends
probably wouldn't know who he is anyway.
is perfect because he's a year younger than both of us. But
Mm.
one of the things is that he was more or less more like the standard courtyard kid image, but he had a respect for the army, and he was more weeb than I was, and also he was into punk rock. But one of the things that recently came up is that he sent me a message the other day, and I was like, "Yo, man, what's up? I haven't heard from you in a while." I was like, "Oh yeah, I got a new phone, changed with my parents' plan," and I was like, "Okay, cool, cool." So he came, and here's the thing: it's like one of the things that he smoked pot a lot. He takes meds for his ADHD, and for the most of the time, he feels more or less depressed, but he keeps it together. And I feel bad for him, of course. But
Mhm.
one of the things that happened recently, I think you will laugh, is that one of the girls that he had a crush on for the longest, and he still like hangs out with her. She was like even in some way like more extreme than him. She like really went heavy, with drugs. She was much more into like heavy metal, and overall, it was like they're more or less similar. But the funny thing that happened is that recently, she became more of what you would call a church girl.
I've seen that type before.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it is like now it's like the same crush is now the opposite of what they were originally. Regarding to our changes. The interesting thing was like, what do you do in this situation? Like, do you keep on with the same passion because the guy still liked her, and
Hmm.
I just told him that you know what, you probably should still go out with her because overall, if you liked her before, and if this is the only thing that has happened that's different, then if you still like her, then you might as well go out with her, even if like you're a bit worried about how things will be different now. And I was thinking about it, like meditating about this later, like how different was I when I was younger and compared to now, and how many people have changed? Because there's other people that I've met that were like same situation, but now they became more or less like, oh, I want to study to be a doctor, when before they said they want to be a tattoo artist or something like that. And I'm thinking like, in regards to like people that you would ever like, I thought it was so interesting that more or less everyone still cares about other people despite their changes, and he still liked her no matter what. So I thought it was just so like odd, despite the fact that everyone called the Courtyard Kids really weird, that we were going through the same problems most people did.
Well, yeah, because it's just a social stigma. I mean, of course, that's going to bring its own change, of course. But I mean, we're all human and life changes you, and I don't know, people get attached. I mean, there's this girl that I liked for a long, long time. Um, but she changed over time. I mean, we were very similar
Mm-hmm.
when I first met her, but and I developed, a crush on her because I don't know, I think the type of chick I like is someone kind of like me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know, they're more understanding of me as a person. Um, what's it called? But she changed over time, and I still kind of liked her, but it kind of faded for me because it's not it's not the person that I got to like. I mean, that guy, he probably still sees a lot of her that he likes because if she became more of like a church girl, she probably changed a few aspects of her life, but was probably still the same personality.
More or
The
less,
the
kinda.
girl that I liked changed quite a lot. And I eventually just fell out of it because I didn't really like her anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, my crushes and relationships is a whole mess. Ladies, I'm available.
We're two single bachelors of a podcast. Take that.
uh, that
We're
has like 10 viewers. Shut up.
you know, one of the things about me is that when I'm looking back on like myself and relationships, I'm gonna let this out for the internet so that way if I ever get like, oh, yo, man, you're so big right now, they can always come back and like hold me to a ruler. Like, actually, you're kind of small like this. You weren't that cool back then, Yjang. So when I'm thinking about my relationships, is that I felt like there's a lot of people that I liked, but I was so egotistical that I was worried about getting hurt and feeling that I wouldn't be like enough, because most of the people that I liked had either been in a relationship before or have had some experience with a boyfriend or whatever, or just got out of a relationship. So
Mhm.
when I was in this situation, I didn't know what to do, and honestly, because I kind of made safeguards, and more or less these are like good safeguards. Like in comparison, I thought like, oh well, I shouldn't date anyone until I'm 18. I have a car and I have a job, and
Yeah, I remember you.
I told
Yeah.
that to anyone when they asked me like, hey, yo, why don't you have a girlfriend? And I was like, oh, these are my reasons why. But if I'm gonna be honest, part of that's true because honestly, now I can actually, if someone were to ask me on a date, I could actually do something like, hey, I don't have to ask my mom to go and drive me to a date.
Yeah.
That's not the problem. But at the same time, if I'm going to be honest with myself, I feel like part of it is just the fact that I was, in some way, um, selfish that I could get myself vulnerable, and I wasn't really comfortable about that. And because I had school, I thought, oh, well, this is more important. But I feel like avoiding it is probably going to stunt me later on in the future. And I'm a little
hmm
bit worried, but I'm also kind of like coming to terms with it right now.
Yeah, I mean, personally, the reason I didn't really get in any relationships, other than being an introvert, is mostly because I didn't feel like any women would actually like me. I've had low self-esteem for a long, long, long time. So I never really tried because I didn't think anyone would ever like someone like me. And I still kind of feel that way. Like if a girl came up to me and I knew her and asked like, "Hey, do you want to go out with me?" I'd
you
probably think she was joking,
dude. Oh,
honestly.
I feel the same way in many ways. Mostly because I actually have experience with it. Um, actually, this is
That actually did happen to me once.
that.
So
I'm not too sure if I've said this on the podcast yet, but I'm gonna say it now because these are one of the most defining moments. Like, this is how I grew to hate the world and hate middle school. One of the things that happened to me was that um, there was like this love letter that was in my desk in like around seventh grade, sixth grade, I think. I'm not too sure. And I
hmm
thought like, oh, what? Someone likes me? Because in my class, there's like 30 people that follow you throughout the rest of middle school. Okay,
yeah, you all just in classes together. Yeah.
right. So when I was hearing this, I'm like, what? Who in the world likes me? Because I was more or less bullied for the first year when I was there, or not a lot of people hanged out with me except for one other black kid, because we were the only two black kids in our whole group. There's like another,
hmm
there's like two Asians and two Hispanics, but everyone else was white. So we kind of like circled around each other because we had to. But regardless, I was like, what? Who in here likes me? And eventually, this one of the guys said, "Oh, hey, it's one of the girls sent you that." And I went to some of the girls, like, "Oh, yeah, it's one of the girls that sent you that." And I was going to this little like this is like during like the recess of our classes, and I'm like,
hmm
"Who is bothering with me? Who cares about me?" And eventually, around like the end of like the recess period, the girl comes up to me and she tells me that I was the one who sent you the letter. And I was like, oh my goodness, you. And this was a person I actually liked for a long time. And
hmm
I was so happy, like, oh wow, someone likes me and I actually like them. And I feel accepted for once. And then as immediately I was like, and I told her, like, wow, I'm so surprised. I'm really happy. She told me it was actually a joke. And I was like, what? And yeah, everyone in the whole class planned it.
Oh,
And
oh, I feel like my story doesn't even compare to that.
I
Oof.
was like, I was so like so sad, and I didn't know what to do. So for like the first like half hour of the next class, I just skipped it, and I just sat in the bathroom, and I just sat down, and honestly, I just cried, and I was that was the day that I decided I am gonna do so much better than them. I'm gonna become so good that they'll have to one day look at me and say, "Damn, did we really screw over that kid?" I was. This is how I became like more or less higher achieving because honestly, I feel like I wouldn't be in early college if I didn't have that resolve to like, I'm gonna one up everyone in this class so hard that if they ever see me in life, I'm gonna sit them in their place so they will ever regret what they done to me. And for like the
Mm.
first like 3 months after that, I basically trusted no one. I got into more fights, and the principal at one time nearly tried to Baker at me, which is basically called me crazy.
Yeah,
And
that's
the here's the weirdest thing. One of the things I did that started my little public speaking career is that I won the school two trophies ever in their entire life for public speaking, and no one else has won those same trophies before at the same level I did. So right now, my name, despite the fact they didn't like me, is on their wall because they have no one else to put it on that wall.
hmm.
So right now, that was how I got like I was so afraid. Like in the freshman year, I really thought like if anyone liked me, they must have been lying.
Yeah, I mean, I still kind of feel like that. I mean,
What was your
I
story
have
anyway?
um it was a lot smaller. It was in I think like fourth or fifth grade. And I was real close to him back then because I might as well tell one of my stories. What's it called? I think I was in kindergarten or first grade, and during that age, you develop that sort of like puppy love, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there was the girl who sat next to me at my table because we sat at tables of like five or six, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what's it called? And I developed a sort of a crush on her. Um, what should I call her? Um, I'll call her O because that was her first letter of her name. So I really liked O,
Mm.
and I tell my best friend, who I'll call A, and I turn to him, and I go, and this is after she had gone to like, because we were on our little recess, um, and she had left to go do something, and I go, hey A, I really like her. Can you like help me out? I think I might want to like ask her out or something. And he goes, yeah, man, I'll help you out for sure. And I go, thanks. And then I tell him I wanted to ask her out when she got back. Um, when class like was about to start again, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, what am I gonna say and all that. And what's it called? I really trusted A because even in like preschool, I was picked on, mostly because I have my stutter, and back then it was really bad. So I got picked on a lot for that. And O comes to sit down again. And A turns to her and says, "Hey, Jeff likes you, and he told me and all that." And I don't remember all of what he said because my mind sort of just went to shock
Oh man.
because he basically just broke my trust, and it hit me so hard that I fell out of my chair and just cried on the floor because I trusted him and it just broke because
Dude,
I had a hard time trusting people because all of my friends that I'd known, and yeah, this was in first grade.
been there, done
All my
that. Oh,
all of my friends in preschool and kindergarten, all that, they all just broke my trust. I mean, they would pick on me when I thought they were my friends. They would say that they weren't really my friends. They were just being around me because they had no one else to sit around and that they didn't care about me and stuff like that. And after that, I sort of just shut myself in because I was afraid of other people. And that didn't really break until I met, you know who she is.
mm.
Um, we were in a club together. Um, until I met her and one of my other friends who has a really long last name. You know who he is.
Mm.
Until I met those two in middle school, I didn't have anybody, and I kind of just thought of myself as this person who shouldn't be there. And that sort of stuck around. I mean, I still feel like an outcast. But that sort of trust issues have never really gone away. Um, but that was my story. But the one with the girl, like, not like it was fake. That was in like fourth grade, I think. It was this random popular girl. She she walked up to me in between classes because it my elementary school was at the time because I went to three different ones, which didn't help at all because I lost my friends every time I switched. It was the final year I was going to be at this elementary school, and she walks up to me and I'd known her, and she goes, "Hey, do you want to go out with me?" And I said, "Oh, sure, but why would you go out with me?" And she said, "Oh, I've always kind of liked you, but I haven't really said anything." And I said, "Okay, cool." And then she actually pretends to be my girlfriend for like 2 days, and we
Hmm.
like hold hands and stuff, and I'm getting really happy. I'm telling jokes, and I start being more of an extrovert because I finally feel like I belong. And then after the 2 days, she walks up to me and laughs, and I think, oh, she must have heard something funny. And she goes, "This was all just a joke, and I thought you would have sensed this by now, but I'm not your girlfriend, and my other like the
What?
other girls just told me to do this because they thought it'd be funny, and we
Dude.
thought you would catch on after the first like hour." So
Dude,
that kind of broke me again, and I shut in again
that's
and
even
let
worse.
no one in.
I feel
I
that's
mean, but your entire class was in on it.
yeah, but I'll say the reason why I didn't. I'll say the thing about the whole class is that I never really trusted them from the beginning.
Mm,
So I never really like had much, but it was just the fact that it was the scale that they planned it was humiliating. You that
mm,
I feel that's worse because you had like a taste of what it was like. I never had the taste. I don't think I ever
mm.
had, but the fact that you had the taste and it was like shut down immediately, that's something I haven't experienced yet, and I hope I don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had much luck in high school either. You know how one of them went. It did not end well, and you were trying to talk about her earlier. But that's not who I was talking about.
Yeah.
Um,
You know, I was
yeah,
almost when I was since we're talking about the same person, I was almost about to go out with her. But the reason I didn't it was because how should I say? It didn't feel right because she was right out of another breakup and I because here's the thing, after freshman year, I had a good understanding what it was like to be within a like what a relationship tends to be like. And because of that, I could see the half life of relationships pretty well because I had like data. I had multiple people going out and I could actually test it. Like I would say like if I had to guess, the average relationship ranged between about 2 weeks to about say 4 months max.
yeah. I mean, people like there were some people who never had any, like me,
Mm-hmm.
and then there were the others who had a new one every week,
Right.
kind of
And
like her.
because of that, because I knew she had a track record, I felt this is what I meant about when I say I felt inexperienced. Because even though I thought we clicked and we hanged out and I we laughed a lot and we had fun, I really was like, wow, I don't feel like I would be any worth because I have never been in a relationship before, and because of that, I don't think she would ever really care about me. And the worst thing
Mm.
is, and this is where I really I start to feel the consequences of my actions is that it was in junior year when I was like leaving Sano and I wasn't there for a long time. When I,
Leaving the school, you mean?
when I was leaving the school for a long time and I wasn't there for a long time, is that she told me that I actually liked you for a long time and I wanted you to ask me out one day. And that stung.
Ooh, I've never heard those words, but that probably would hurt.
That stung because it was like I had the chance and I told myself I'm too much of a wimp. I'm too much of a puss to even act on it. And because of that, I never had that chance again. I still talked to her for a while, but eventually we fell out because not like we don't like each other anymore like as friends, but
Not
because
like how I fell out.
yeah, we just stopped talking to each other because of distance. And because of that, I just felt really agonized by like the what if. And
Hmm.
because of that, I, to this day I still feel that same feeling that if someone were to ask me out, I would be a little bit unsure, just because like even at work, one of the things that I get a lot is that whenever people ask me like, "Hey, yo, Yjang, have you ever dated a girl yet?" and it's like, "No, I haven't dated anyone at all," and everyone gives me like this dumbfounded look, like, "Why?" Like some of them even say like, you're actually good looking." I'm like, "What, really?" and I'm like, "Yeah."
That's another thing. Like, I don't think I've ever been complimented by anyone who isn't like my mother, ever. And that's another thing that helps with my self-esteem, you know. No one ever tells me anything like that. And I'm not saying people should, but like I don't know.
You would like a bone thrown at you once in a while.
Yeah, I'd like someone like you're doing good today, Jeffrey. Like, oh, you look nice, and it would just feel good. But I'm gonna go a bit into my story with the girl we were talking about.
Yeah, go ahead.
We had a class together. It was a class. I'm not gonna go into it.
Mm.
And we sat next to each other, and we throughout the year just started because it takes time for me to trust people, as you can probably tell with one of my stories
Mm.
that I told earlier. There are many more tales like that, but it takes me a while because I have to test if the person's trustworthy. And I built it up with her, and I thought, okay, she's pretty trustworthy. So I started to open up, tell more about myself and all that. And that's how I'm even telling this right now because I trust you. So that's why I'm saying it, even though this is going out to a lot of people. But um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, yeah. So we built it up, and then eventually we exchange information and all that. And she tells me that she kind of likes me. And I wasn't gonna initiate anything because I like I said, I don't think women would like me, so I thought she was just being nice or something like that, or we were just friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately go, "Oh, okay, I like you too," because I mean, I kind of did. And we hit it off and all that. We go do a few things, and I drive her around. We go see a play. It was very fun. Um, and then, well, we ran into some differences between us. I'm not gonna really go into more details, but it was a real hard breakup because she ended it, and I didn't want it to end because this was my first real girlfriend since I was a child. And I don't know, I had felt really lonely for so long, and even though at that time I had friends, but not really close friends or anything. I mean, I wasn't like a close friend with you yet, and I wasn't a close friend with my brother either, so I couldn't really talk about these sort of subjects. Like you're probably the second person ever who I've ever told that story about first grade to. Um, what's it called? The first being my brother.
Mm-hmm.
um what's it called? And I started to open up, and I guess I get attached fairly quickly because it hurt a lot. And if you ask my brother or my family sort of thing, I was in a pretty, well, not pretty, I was in a real down mood. I was depressed for like months, because it just hurt so much that I had something and then it was just gone. And I mean, of course, I did what I do best and I blame myself over it. But now looking back, I think it was good that I got out of being with her because I don't think we would have, nothing would have happened. It would have ended either way because we're just very different people, as you can probably attest to. And plus, like you said, she had a track record and all that. So,
Yeah, it's kind of like you just feel more or less like, oh well, there's probably a better guy for her anyway, or I'm not really much compared to most of them.
well, not really that. I just don't think I would work with her. I mean, as a
Ah,
person,
yeah, I don't know.
looking back.
I feel like one of the reasons why I was like I enjoyed hanging out with her is because she kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone, and because of that, I had
She
a good
did. That's true.
time. I'm not too sure how long that would have lasted, and I don't think I'll ever know until I eventually I might hear from her again, and then I'm gonna go through the same regret. but
Meh.
but anyway, besides that, I'm more or less okay with it, and otherwise, I don't feel I don't feel more or less that I would change what I've done. I don't think I should have because despite all of my little mistakes, I think each of them is like a important learning moment that I don't think I would have ever understood without going through something like that.
Definitely. I mean, failure is your best teacher, as the saying goes. But I mean, looking back at my childhood and well, my entire life really, I've always been this outcast who people have picked on. Nobody want to be friends with me and that sort of thing. But it made me into who I am, and I like who I am. I mean, other people might not, but I don't really give a shit anymore. People have pushed me down my entire life, and you just learn to not care what other people think. If I didn't have that, I think I'd be like some of the people that went to our school, just egotistical and self-centered.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm sort of happy it happened in the end. It it built me. At least that's what I like to think.
Or self monologuing.
This is my character, and this is who I am as a person.
I'm gonna
I'm a
invest
villain.
into the edge lord points from my skill tree so I can get the +10 intelligence boost, +10 creative background.
Yeah, I wasn't really in the edge lord tree. I was more in the like outcast tree.
Ah, yeah. You know, speaking
The
of
the
like,
the the difference there being the outcast tree is more sad, while the edge lord is angry. But go ahead.
yeah, speaking about characteristics, I'm thinking about like, one thing since we're going through about like self-esteem relationships, I'm thinking about like my relationship to the world, and one of the things is that I'm thinking about like the little job, little skills I've been picking up. like the web dev thing I'm been doing.
Hmm.
Like, I built this website. I built my own website. Uh,
Your audio sounds a bit different, by the way.
oh, sorry. I was a bit far away. I built my own website. I built the podcast website, and part of me feels kind of alone because I don't have like a community. I feel like I could have been in a active community. Like I could go on Reddit and probably be a bit more active, but I kind of let me tell you a story. I was at work the other day and it was around the night shift. So I'm taking like the last customers that are just coming in, about to go home. And there's this one customer with a shirt that says open source GitHub JS ES7. And I'm like, wait a minute,
Hmm.
isn't that? And I said, sir, and the guy turned around like, what happened? It's like, are you a web developer?
Oof.
And the guy was like, yeah. It's like, I'm trying to have your job. I'm trying to take your job. And it's like, no, I mean, not take your job, but I mean, like, have your job, like, your job title. You understand what I'm saying? And the guy's like, uh-huh, yeah, go ahead. I'm just starting out, and I only know, like, HTML and CSS. What can I do so I can become more like you? And the guy was like, I don't know, learn the new stuff going on like ES7 and practice some JSON and go forward with more JavaScript. And this is stuff that I already knew, but it was like, oh, okay, thank you. Have a good one. And after I did that, I was like, oh, why did I do this?
That's the worst
Why did
feeling.
I do this? This is so awkward. And I saw him like he was about to go through my lane, but then he like kind of turned around and eventually decided to just stick to it. And it's like, have a good one. It's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, and I was just like, shit. Why? I'm such an idiot.
Yeah, that's the worst feeling. But hey, my brain thinks that won't happen if you never talk to people.
Yeah, you can't get.
Someone, someone make that the meme of the black guy like putting his finger on his temple.
Uh, perfect.
Uh,
I don't know. It's just like how should I say? I want to. I feel like an imposter doing the things I do because when I look at this stuff
yeah.
online, I feel like, man, I want to be like them, but I can't help but feel so distant because when you're like, for you, Jeffrey, you say you want to start your own business. And
Hmm.
I'm sure there's some other people that are trying to start their own business too, but you can also feel like, well, no one else is doing the same thing like I am, and I feel like no one else is on the same like groove as I am. So I feel kind of alone. Am I doing this right? Is there something else I should be doing?
Well, yeah, but I've felt like that most of my life, so you kind of get used to it. But to go back, I don't think you meant it in the way I thought you did, but you said that you kind of feel like you're faking it.
Yeah,
And that's kind of how I feel most of my life, because um, how I am right now, I'm basically very, very open and I'm really being me. I've had long conversations with my brother about this, but I feel like I'm wearing a mask around other people, a mask of like being a different person, of like who they want to see me as. Like, for example, at Sandalwood, if I'm not around my friends, I'll put on this mask of being this, silent guy who's intimidating and you shouldn't talk to him because he never says anything. And oh, he's the smart guy with glasses and all that. And say I'm with people who are like acquaintances, I'll put on a mask of like being an extrovert basically.
hmm
I'll pretend to be happy and lively and all that because if I'm not, if I'm showing how I truly feel, they'll probably like worry about me, and I don't want that.
oh yeah,
Um, so most of my life, when I'm not by myself or with people that I really trust, which is a hard thing to attain, I feel like I'm faking my way through life, that I'm not me, but I'm just, too afraid to show myself. So,
I can
yeah.
I under I'm not too sure. I bet other people feel the same way, and I think that's
Yeah,
just
I mean, I didn't expect you to fully like relate to that because you're more of an extrovert than me.
Well,
Um,
I mean, it's a little bit different. I can understand what you're saying because, like, for me, it's like a difference because one of the things I'm not too sure if you understand this, but one of the weirdest things about me being born is because I'm okay. I'm okay with people knowing my like ethnicity. I am Latino. I am black, and my name sounds Asian. People say I sound white, and at the same time, I don't speak enough Spanish where people call me a gringo. So I don't feel like I belong to anyone, but I still have to put on a face that I'm like part of them because one of the things
mhm,
about me is that I don't feel like I am black. Not in the sense like Raven Simone Black, but I just don't feel that same connection. And I don't feel like I'm Latino because I don't get that. I have the culture, but I only get like a little dip in. And to the point where people ask me like, "Oh, what are you like on the like survey quiz?" And it says, "Are you Latino?" And I say, "Yeah," but it's like part of me feels like, do I really even feel Latino? Do I really feel like anything? Because I feel like I'm just faking what people want to tell me I am because of the stereotypes, and most people like abide by those stereotypes. Some of it in ridiculous ways. Like whenever, like for example, for me, it's like when I hear the N word, it's like it's one of those words where it's like you don't want to be associated with it, but yet I hear it all the time by the same people who don't want to be associated with it. And it's hypocritical, but at the same time, whenever I hear it, or if I were to say it, when I do say it, people don't bat an eye, and I feel like, why am I allowed to say it when I don't even feel like I'm a part of the same group? And because of that, I just feel like I'm kind of like faking like I don't deserve to to really be a part of any group I am because I don't feel like anyone really associates me being a part of it more than like a surface level. Like if someone were to
mhm.
peel me off from like the little tags I'm given through life, they would think that I'm not really associated with anybody. Like even when I go to like one thing I talked about when I talk about my job, one customer came up to me and he asked me when about my name because I have to wear my name um on my uniform. And he's like, "Oh man, what's your name?" And so I told him, "Oh, my name's Yjang and my last name." And it's like, "Oh, where are you from?" It's like, "Oh, well, my family's from Panama." It's like, "Ah, welcome to America." It's like, no, I was born and raised here in." And they say, "Well, what are you?" And I didn't know how to respond because part of me wanted to just tell this guy to shut up and get on with his purchase. But what I just like, your total's gonna be 489, and he went about with his crew. And honestly, they were like real jerks because they were the kind of like, you know, they were loud, they were, really disrespectful. They like just
Mhm.
casually cussed in front of each other with all the whole, line behind them and but still that kind of like hit with me because it's like I didn't know, who am I? Do I belong with anything that I say I am, or should I just not even associate it? Because no matter what, people are gonna call me whatever I am, and they're gonna think of me like that. And this is the kind of stuff
Mhm.
that like I hear from like, how should I say? I remember there was this show on Netflix about like Jimmy, the guy from like Life According to Jimmy. He was starring in it. It was American Vandal. Oh, crap, I can't remember it. It was like about it was a show, a 13 episode show about a guy spraying dicks all over cars, and
I have no idea.
people who watch Netflix will get it. But the point is, I felt like I was pressured to be the stereotype. Like for the character, he was pressured to be the stupid guy that half-asses through life and pull pranks on people. When really he was a little bit deeper than that. And the same thing for me. I feel like I'm being given these labels, but I don't belong to it. And because of that, I don't feel like whenever I go to like a Spanish church or I go to like a when there's like these Black Baptist church or if I go to like Celebration church or I go to like a like anime conventions, I feel like I don't belong anywhere really. What am I doing here? And I feel like the only place I feel comfortable in is my own little bubble of the internet, but that just makes me feel alone, and I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't relate to that racial aspect because I've because I'm a white guy. I'll put that on the internet, as you can probably tell by my voice. Um, what's it called? And race has never been really a thing in my mind. I've never thought of being like a white person group, because we're both in the South, so it's fairly diverse down here.
Full
But
of
even
color.
then, yeah, yeah. Um, what's it called? It's never really entered into my mind, but I get your thing of like you feel like you don't belong anywhere because and like you have to follow stereotypes, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier with like masks,
Yeah.
where all I will assume a stereotype so people can understand me better, because if I came up as myself, they would just question it, and I wouldn't want to get into that with them. So I'll pretend to be, oh, I'll be the like tall silent guy who wears glasses. He's really smart. Go copy his homework.
Yeah.
Or oh, the really I'll be the like really happy guy who's there as the sort of like outcast group, which I always was for some reason.
Hmm.
If I if I ever joined a group of other outcasts, I would for some reason put on this mask of leadership, and I
Big,
would
strong,
have
burly
to be
guy with a
that.
big beard.
Yep, yep, that's me. Because I was the biggest one and I had the loudest voice, I was leader, and I didn't like it, you know.
Hmm.
I don't like wearing those masks, but I guess I'm just afraid what will happen if I take them off, you know.
There's this one term that I came across on the internet called code switch. Like how you have to change how you talk, how you act, how you relate to other people by how people call you. And I think that's like a good way to, when I think about it, like it's the same thing, just different dimensions of the same problem. Even like whenever I'm online, I'm a different person.
Yeah, I mean, even then, like the other day, I was feeling angry because, I mean, I watched E3,
Oh
and
yeah,
what's it called? I didn't really have high expectations, but I was excited about the new Fallout thing that was coming out, Fallout 76, and I heard rumors about, oh, it's gonna be multiplayer and all that, and I thought, okay, well, if it's just co-op, it's okay. I don't like it, but because Fallout's a single player series, and
right.
so many games these days are multiplayer that I don't want to lose that, because I really just enjoy cutting out the world and escaping into something else, um, to just get out. And when I saw it was online only and there's no single player, I was pretty mad.
Oh wait, that
And
was the. I didn't really pay attention to Fallout. I was mostly focused on the Nintendo conference, but
yeah,
it's
so the new Fallout game is multiplayer. It's basically kind of like Rust if you've ever played it or
oh
seen it.
yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, and I went on to the Fallout Reddit, which I usually don't post on. I usually just comment or lurk. And I posted about how I'm afraid for what it spells, for the future of the Fallout series. And now someone's gonna go find that post and find my Reddit or whatever. But um, what's it called? I'll just like delete it or whatever. What's it called? And I posted it, and the immediate response was just somebody yelling at me because they thought it was wrong. And that sort of online persona is very argumentative, and I just got basically in a screaming match with the guy, online, and I don't know, I felt weird about it later because I was thinking, why did I act like that? I don't know.
Yeah,
I just don't. Most times, I just feel like I'm hiding who I am, and the only times I really feel like I'm not is when I'm by myself or with people I trust. Like I said.
I actually feel quite well. I get the. I understand what you mean. I mean, for most times when I'm on the internet and I'm completely anonymous, and yeah, I'm going to give my full opinion because who's going to stop me? But because most of my internet identity is tied to like somehow my real identity, I kind of have to act even different.
Like Facebook or something, yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, you kind of have to like say these little surface level crap that I really don't enjoy because it's not really getting me anywhere. Which is the reason why I don't like social media.
I don't use any of it besides, well, I guess Reddit's kind of social media, but that's the only one I even have an Instagram or anything like that. So
I'll tell you what. Even though most of my family and friends are on Facebook, I absolutely hate it. Not because of my friends and family, but because I can't be honest and I have to put up a
Yeah.
fake person, especially because the worst thing about social media for me is because that ever since I was little, no matter what, because my parents posted pictures or images of me, there's a whole trail that like delineates where I began.
Yeah.
So I can't even start being myself because people are gonna like pull crap from me from the past, and I'm like, that's not me anymore. But they're gonna do that kind of stuff on me, and to the point I'm like, I don't want to be on Facebook because there's nothing I really value out of it. I feel kind of like I don't feel happy when I'm there, with the exception of like I'm on groups. But even then, I can't be like, hey, I don't know at all what I'm doing. I feel a bit confused. Can someone help me? I kind of have to like put this little, oh yeah, I'm really good at what I'm doing, and I just need some advice and blah blah blah. But I don't feel like I'm giving my true self. With Reddit, no one can tell me anything. I'm like, hey, I think this is cool, and you can fight me, but I think this is awesome. And the worst thing that people can do is say, well, I'm going to downvote your post and
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But at least I put it out there. And
Yeah.
I feel like the smaller the community is, the more empowered I am to say something. But the bigger it
Definitely.
is like, well, I really don't matter. And the worst thing is because it's bigger, there's more people who are just there to ruin your day. So, like,
Hmm.
if I'm on, like, a small subreddit for, like, a certain channel I like, then it's awesome. If I'm on a big subreddit for, like, say, Linux or for learn programming or whatever, then I feel like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Can someone help me? Da 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 da. But I have to say in a way that they enjoy it or they approve. Otherwise, they're going to say, like, you're a total idiot. What are you doing on the subreddit?
Hey, yeah, you said to her that I had to go pee. Thanks for listening to all of our feelings and trauma and how we shaped as a person, our really shitty relationship life. Ladies call me. I prefer orange hair. That's something you should know. I don't like blonde.
I'm not
Sorry.
really too picky, but only thing I can say is that if you think the Confederate flag is okay to put on your card, then I don't like you. Otherwise, I can probably okay. Not because
Eh,
I'm against Confederates,
As
but
long as they're not like outright racist.
no. Oh yeah, if you're not outright racist, then fine. I don't really care. But let me
If
tell
you're
you
just
this.
like this is a South, I mean, it's still shitty.
Yeah, but let me tell you this. Just because I'm going to end off, I'll tell the rest about this story later in the next part. But I'll tell you this:
Uh-huh.
the last time that I interacted with a Confederate flag was the time I also got shot by a BB gun. But I'll say that for another episode.
Okay, all right. Thanks for tuning in to Tangent Podcast. Tune in next time where we'll talk about like music and stuff. Something
Yeah.
that's not as like depressing.
Thanks
So
for listening to our
thanks.
therapy
See
session.
ya.
Support us on
Hopefully our
Patreon.
audio's good. See ya. Give us all your money. Bye.
Bye.